Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. We're going to talk about Hogwarts Legacy today and a possible sequel in development. Let's cue the music and we'll get right to it. Alright, for those of you who don't remember, I'll refresh your memory a little bit here. Hogwarts Legacy was a huge hit for Warner Brothers, what was it, a year ago, roughly? It was last year, actually. Well, it was well over a year, coming up on 2 years now, or in the early part of 2025, but it's been a while. But yeah, it was a big hit, and it pissed off all the right people, so I bought it. And people were going nuts and losing their mind over this game. Why? Because J.K. Rowling correctly says that there are two genders, and women are women, and men can't become women just because they put on a dress and makeup. And it's correct. And it's a silly thing to argue about, a silly reason to boycott the game. And games journalists and oh my god, people lost their minds over this. This was kind of like the prequel to Gamergate 2, I think. And this is where I kind of got involved in what's going on in gaming. I really was kind of oblivious to it beforehand. I mean, I knew, stuff was like, whatever. But I didn't look that deep into it. It was more of an enjoyable hobby and all that. But sometimes, you get into a game and you're like, oh, God, this is annoying or that's annoying. And I didn't realize how bad it was. I didn't realize how toxic the gaming community was until I started a channel and I joined up with, like, gaming people on Twitter and all that. Ever since the election here, the last couple days, I've deleted dozens of people from X. I call Twitter X, whatever, or X Twitter. Dozens of people just because of their moronic takes and all that. And I just really don't want to hear it. I'm too old for that crap. But Hogwarts Legacy was this game that Warner Brothers put out, and it was a big open world game set in the 1800s at Hogwarts School for gifted youngsters, or is that Professor Xavier's? Anyway, yeah, so it's a school, for the kids, the magicians and all that. It was kind of fun. You created your own character, and you went out on adventures, and you had to solve the mystery there. And there was a lot of side quests, and there were some cool animals to collect, and a lot of stuff to do. I finished the game. I beat the game. I never did all the side stuff and all that. By the time I beat the game, I was kind of exhausted with it. I was like, oh, okay. Those open world games get to be exhausting after a while. And doing all those side quests and all that can be an exercise in frustration sometimes. It's just like, all right, do I really, now that I beat the game, do I want to go back and clean all that stuff up? Half the time I don't. I'm like, nah, I'm over it, whatever. It's not a reflection on the game itself. It's more of a reflection on me. I'm ready to move on and try something new. Now, the game itself was fun and all that. And was it anti-woke? No, not in the least bit. It was very woke, as a matter of fact. And looking at it, it was... a lot of us bought it just to spite people, myself included. I was never a Harry Potter fan or anything like that. I enjoyed the game, but the game was annoying as hell in a lot of ways. You had Sir Ian, or whatever was the name of the bartender at the Three Broomsticks, and that was a trans person there, and it was just so off-putting to walk up to this bartender who had the feminine look and the masculine voice. It was like the opposite of Trash from Veilguard. And then the school itself, all the teachers and all the students were diverse to the point of it being comical. Kind of like Horizon games are, where it's almost comical. 1,000 years in the future, after the world ends, you're going to have more homogenous look to people. They're not going to be, black people, white people, Asian people, Spanish people. Everybody's going to kind of blend together a little bit. Accents are going to blend together. You're going to form new people. You're not going to preserve those bloodlines through those, generations and generations. It's just not going to happen. Sorry. So that's one of my biggest faults with Horizon. I would love to see that game. I think would have been so much better, and it would have been so much more immersive if they had done something different with the people of the future, making them look more like tribes as opposed to just smattering groups of people. Now, if it took place 30 years after the apocalypse and these were leftover people that, were left over from when the world was destroyed, that would make more sense, but not 1,000 years. And Hogwarts Legacy has the same problem, but in the opposite way. This takes place in Scotland in the 1800s. and you've got people from Africa and India and all over the place, and it's kind of, and it feels silly. The teachers as well, especially, and you might say, well, they're taking stuff from all over the world, and they tried to make Hogwarts seem like part of a larger network in this game of like wizarding schools and all that. I don't remember if they did that in the movie so much. Let me know in the comments. I've watched the movies through maybe once, and again, not a big. I didn't dislike them or anything like that. They were entertaining, but wasn't hanging on the edge of my seat and absorbing every little piece of lore and every detail. It was more like, oh, these are fun. Yeah, okay, all right, what's next? Okay, so that's where I am with that. But the game was fun. The gameplay was fun. The spells were cool. But yeah, the diversity inside the staff and the students was kind of goofy. It just felt weird. I felt like there should have been primarily people from Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and England in that school. Maybe an odd person here and there from somewhere else, especially from the 1800s. But anyway, I digress. So Hogwarts Legacy sequel officially in development. A sequel to Hogwarts Legacy is reportedly officially in development. Now, Warner Brothers needs a hit. They took a huge dump with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League this year. That game failed miserably. I think they're on their third or fourth season now, and I think it's the final season. It's a live service game, and it just never took off. The numbers were never there, and it was just a miserable game overall. SBI Sweet Baby Inc. was involved with that game. So that poisoned the game quite a bit for players. A lot of players won't touch games that SBI touches, or any of those other consulting groups like that. They just, we're not going to touch them. I'm not going to touch them. We've had a very rough year for gaming. Games like that, games like Concord failing and being pulled off the shelves and refunded within 10 days. Dustborn coming out of the gate and never topping 100 concurrent players on Steam. And that wasn't a small. It was an indie game, but it was on PlayStation and all that. It's not like it was just some rando guy putting out some indie game out of his garage. This had some production to it and all that. So there was money involved in it. And it was funded by the government. I forget what part of the government. I think it was like, was it Sweden or anyway, like the Ministry of Art or something like that put some funding into it. So, 100 players, guys? Woo, that's not good. And then more recently we had Assassin's Creed Shadows, or I'm sorry, we had Star Wars Outlaws severely underperform, Skull and Bones severely underperform, although that was expected by everybody. In fact, it pretty much bombed. That game didn't do well at all. And then more recently we had just released Dragon Age Veilguard, which is a miserable, weird game that it doesn't even feel like a game. It's like somebody's trauma dump that they just kind of recanted their life and moments of their life when they had to deal with their mental illness with other people and they didn't understand it. And it's really, really weird. It's like fan fiction for somebody inserting themselves into the Dragon Age world as a trans person and trying to cope with that in there. I don't know how else to put it, man. You got to see for yourself, but it's the biggest piece of shit out of all of them this year, I think, and that's that. So hopefully, if they do something with this Hogwarts, they kind of tone that crap down a little bit. Although I doubt it. Warner Brothers seems pretty adamant on pushing that kind of stuff, but I feel like culture is shifting rapidly, and the election in the U.S. that just occurred, 2 days ago, with Trump winning a very resounding defeat to Kamala Harris, and Kamala's very radical. She liked to push this whole trans agenda and all that. And quite frankly, people are tired of it. People are sick of hearing about it. People are sick of the rainbow flags, and they're sick of all that kind of stuff. They're sick of their children being targeted. And, it just feels like, we're just getting overwhelmed with it. And it was fine when it was an occasional thing. It was like, okay, whatever, If it bothered you, but you could get past it. It's like, that was gross, but whatever. Or that was weird. Now it's just like, it's insufferable and it's tiring. You're like, oh, look, here we go again. Another LGBT character, and all they're going to do is talk about their sexuality and all that. Wow, that's so original and so goofy. It's just like watching them on TikTok, or anything else. It's all they identify as, and it's all they see themselves as, and it's really, really sad. We're going to make a video game where the protagonist is anorexic, and that's all they're going to do is walk around talking about their anorexia and how they don't eat because they're so super fat, and everybody around them is going to just be like, yeah, you need to lose weight, man. You're looking good. Keep up the good work. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. And then the end of the game is going to be when he dies from the anorexia. That'll be a fun game, right? But yeah, that's what I feel like with this stuff. So hopefully they'll tone it down. I doubt they will, but like I said, the election was kind of like a referendum on the U.S. and Western culture and all that, and how everybody's sick of that kind of stuff. X was melting down. People are losing their minds left and right, and everybody's leaving for blue sky, and good riddance. Every time I saw somebody posting something utterly beyond the pale, I just looked at their profile real quick. I saw pronouns in there. I just, I'm like, you know what? And they weren't following back. Unfollow. I had a couple mutuals that pushed back a little bit. They wouldn't answer back though, so it's like, all right, whatever. Move on. I'm not unfollowing them if they're mutuals, but if they weren't following back, then screw them. They can go to hell. But anyway, Jennifer Moss and KJ Osman at Variety report that Warner Brothers Games is at work on a video game sequel to Hogwarts Legacy, which is a very big priority. This game made them a fortune, whereas the Justice League game lost them $200,000. President of Warner Brothers Interactive, David Haddad, informed the duo, "We have known for some time that fans are looking for more things in this world, so we're spending a lot of time thinking about that. Our insights tell us that there are not huge distinctions between a younger version of a fan and an older version of a fan. They're just deep Harry Potter fans, and we try to build authentic experiences to delight them." This report is unsurprising given the success of Hogwarts Legacy, and Warner Brothers Discovery CFO Gunnar Weidenfels commented at Bank of America's 2024 Media Communications and Entertainment Conference, where he said, "Obviously a successor to Hogwarts Legacy is one of the biggest priorities in a couple of years down the road." He added, "So there is certainly a significant growth contribution from the games in our strategic outlook here." Now, this game was big, man. It hit big for him. And I heard they were going to be releasing a director's cut of it or something like that, an expanded game. I don't know if it's just going to be this. I don't know exactly what they mean by that right now. So maybe they're working on that, and maybe they've got another team beginning the development process of the sequel. I don't know right now. We have to hear more, but it's kind of cool, and I wish him luck with it. I do. There was a very successful game for him. Like I said, it was kind of cool. My girlfriend enjoyed it. A lot of people liked it. If they're Harry Potter fans, this is the type of thing you're going to love. And, I fully support J.K. Rowling, which is kind of funny because, 10 years ago I wouldn't have supported her like that. But nowadays it's like, yeah, we're on the same side. We're both horrible people. The game was a massive success for Warner Brothers, selling over 22 million copies in just 2023 alone. At the beginning of January, Haddad praised, "But it's not just the units sold that I'm so proud of, it's also delighted the fans so much. It brought Harry Potter to life in a new way for gamers, where they could be themselves in this world, in this story, and that's what the team at Avalanche set out to do when they were developing the game." And I think that's really why it resonated so well and remains the best-selling game of the year in the entire industry worldwide. That's a position that typically is held by one of these incumbent sequels games, and we're so proud that we were able to break into the top ranks. And it's true. That's usually like a COD game or something like that holds that kind of stuff. An interesting note from Variety is that Haddad shared that the success of Hogwarts Legacy is influencing HBO's upcoming Harry Potter live-action TV series. Mass and Yasmin wrote, "Haddad says the games team has been coordinating some of the big-picture storytelling elements in the Hogwarts Legacy sequel with the storylines that will play out in the Harry Potter HBO series coming from Warner Brothers Television." Now, this is interesting because this makes me feel like it's going to be set in a different timeline because the Harry Potter television series, from my understanding, unless they've changed things, is going to retell the Harry Potter story from the books, but it's going to do it for the small screen, and I think each book is going to be a season from what I gather. I could be wrong on that. Correct me down below if I am, but that's my understanding of things. But on top of the sequel, there's a rumor that Warner Brothers is also developing a Hogwarts Legacy Definitive Edition. There we go. Which will feature an additional 10 to 15 hours of content. That's what I mentioned earlier. Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming claims that this definitive edition is in development and it'll be sold as a separate DLC for those with the existing game. Well, that's cool. So yeah, a little DLC pop on there. I feel like the game has room for that, you know. He shared that the 10 to 15 hours of content will include new story quests, side quest activities, and outfits. There were a lot of outfits in the game. So, what do you guys think of that? Yeah, there was a Quidditch game released recently, too. Totally unrelated to this. I don't even remember if it was Warner Brothers. I would imagine it was Warner Brothers that did it. I got it. It was a freebie on the PlayStation, but I haven't even tried it yet. I'll have to check it out one of these days. I mean, Quidditch was something that people were really upset was not in the game. Wouldn't it be fun if that game came out and maybe it was they were testing things out to see how the mechanics would work and all that, and part of this definitive edition would include Quidditch, or maybe the second Harry Potter game would, or the second Hogwarts Legacy game would have it in there. But yeah, I'm really wondering: is it going to be set in a different timeline? Is it going to run parallel with the books? Are we going to have? Are we going to be able to play as characters from the story, or are they just going to be side characters in the game? I don't know. Be kind of fun to see though. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to ring that bell for notifications. As always, we've got to beef you with the Game Vault. I will see you next time. Until then, peace.